Hi, I'm Paul Arndorfer, and this is Patrick Junge. I'm the owner of Pro Planner LLC, precision planning premier dealer, and today we're going to be talking about planner maintenance. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the parallel arms and bushings, and that's these components here. The reason we look at these is because worn out bushings and parallel arms can cause uneven depth, chatter in row units, which can lead to uneven emergence. So the first thing you want to do is go to the back of the row unit and wiggle it side to side. So you want to wiggle the row unit up and down as well as side to side. And if you're unsure about the wear of the components, what you want to do is get new components and put them all on one row and then check it again. And if you determine that the components are worn out, you can source them from the OEM manufacturer or aftermarket companies such as SI Distributing or Highland Manufacturing. So now we're going to talk about the opening discs. The opening discs create a true V for a proper seed bed. So the first thing you want to do is remove the disc and check the diameter of the disc. For Kinseys, when they get down to 14.5, they're considered worn out. When they're new, they are 15 inches. If you're going with a new disc, you want to take them and make sure that the hub is centered on the disc, and you also want to make sure that everything is true. And you can do that by putting a bolt through that and putting it in a vise and holding a screwdriver up to it and make sure that it does not wobble. So the next thing you want to check is disc shimming. To do that, you want to take a business card and slide one end from the bottom and one end from the top and put a mark at each business card. For the 3mm disc, you want 1.5 inches to 2 inches, and for the 3.5mm disc, you want 1 inch to 1.5 inches. And you'll check this in at least 3 different spots on the disc with the business cards and putting marks at each spot. And if you find that they are too close or too far apart, you want to remove a shim from the outside, from the inside, and move it to the inside, or put one from the inside to the outside to make them closer together.
So now we're talking about seed tubes and the importance behind them. So the seed tube, it takes and drops the seed down into the hole that was freshly made by the plates, and this seed tube guard, it prevents wear upon the seed tube and keeps it in better condition. And this would be an example of a new seed tube guard, and this one, it's not too badly worn, but you can take the seed tube out and you can compare it just on top if you want to do a quick comparison. And if you're really unsure on it, you can actually take it out and you measure it, and your planter manufacturer will have specific measurements for the width of it. So here we have a new seed tube, and you can see that there's no wear on it at all, but over here this is a worn one, and you can see that this side is way thinner than this side, and that could possibly cause a problem if it were to either bend in a little bit and the seed could knock on it and get caught or something, or if it keeps wearing, it could wear through and then the seed might not want to go all the way down and could go to the side. And on the side here, you can see that there's a little tungsten bar. That actually helps to prevent wear a little bit. So here on this worn one here, this plastic piece could bend in a little bit or wear in a little bit. That could cause a little bit of seed deflection, and it might not go down exactly where that hole is made, and that could cause a problem with emergence or seed placement. So now we're going to talk about the row cleaners and the importance behind them. So the row cleaners down here, they clean up the row and they prevent you from getting any organic matter or any trash in there where the seed would be going. And you want to just make sure and turn them. You want to be able to turn it just with your finger. So you want to make sure the bearings are tight first by turning it, and then just wiggle it a little bit and see if there's play back and forth. Now this planter has airbags in here for support and down pressure. You just want to make sure and lift up and down on it. Make sure that those airbags still have the pressure and still keep it pushed down in, so then it actually cleans the rows well. So here you want to make sure that the bushings are tight and all the bolts are tight. And you want to make sure that the bushings aren't excessively wore or that it's too far in or out of line from the row.
So now we're going to talk about the closing system. So when you're checking your closing system, you want to check for wear in the bushings up here for side-to-side slop. So in addition to the bushings, you also want to check the spring, make sure they have proper tension and they're not broken. Once you have those components repaired or adjusted, you want to set your planter down on the ground and check for proper alignment with the seed disc by scrubbing a line on a concrete or gravel surface. Once you have them properly aligned, you want to check your wheels distance between them. And proper distance between the wheels should be between 2 and 2.5 inches for a 2-inch planting depth. And you want to measure that from center of wheel to center of wheel on the bottom. So now we're going to talk about gauge wheel shimming. So you want to check your gauge wheels. You want them, move them up to planting depth and pull out. While pulling out, check for rotation and see if they rub on the disc openers. You want them to rub lightly on the disc opener. This creates a cleaning action on the disc, as well as when they're properly aligned, they firm the sides of the furrow for proper furrow formation. You also want to check the gauge wheel arms for wear. You want to check to see if they are sloppy back and forth, which could mean that the bushings inside the arm are wore, or the shaft in the row unit could also be wore. And the next thing you want to check is the dog bone to make sure they are not worn or getting excessive slop. So now we're going to talk about the meter drive system. You want to make sure that your change and tensioners are working properly. Your tensioners should have good tension on them, and the change should be lubed with no kinks or tight spots in them. You also want to make sure that your sprockets are in good shape. Bad chains and sprockets cause chatter in the drive system, which could cause improper seed placement. You also want to check the bearings on the hex shaft. So you want to remove your chains and rotate the hex shaft with a wrench, and it should turn nice and smoothly. If it does not, you'll want to remove the drive shaft and check the bearings. You also want to check the contact wheel in the drive system over there. You want to look at the chains and make sure that the tires are to proper air pressure.
So here we're talking about the bar height and the planter bar. You want to make sure that it's level this way. You don't want it to be tilted up or down from here. And you want to make sure that the parallel arm sits level when it's down where you're going to be planting. If the bar height is too high or it's too low, the row unit could be too high or too low into the ground, and it could cause improper emergence and cause problems. And no amount of downforce that you have or downforce system you have could fix that problem. So back here we're talking about the bar height. You want to make sure that it's level all the way across and it's not too high or too low on one side or the other. You also want to make sure that if you have a split planter, that one section isn't too high or too low from the other, and that it's all the way level all the way across.
And the last thing we're going to talk about is the planter meters. Meters are important because they singulate the seed for proper emergence placement in the soil. And the things you want to check are the brushes and the fingers, and on finger meters the belt, and on vacuum meters there's also, you want to check the disc and the seals as well as the other wear parts in the meter. The best way to get your meters tuned up is to take them to your precision planting dealer and have them run them and calibrate them on their meter stand.